see with the arrow. Just leave it at the end.
It's right.
It should be okay.
Yeah.
And I checked the video upstairs and it was
Don't think. Nice to meet you, sir.
I didn't check it out here though, sorry. Thank you. How did you? Yeah. We're ready?
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started to keep everyone on time and schedule because it's too nice to be inside, especially in a basement with no windows. So we should be doing this outside, actually. But thank you so much for coming. This is a topic that we could do annually, unfortunately. It keeps Amy's job secure and Kyle with all the fraud and scam attempts that happen. As you know, you click on something, it can lead you down a path. You open something, it could lead you down a path and mail and everything else. So we just try to do our best to kind of partner with you to help be alert and diligent and know what to look for before you get into trouble. And so I would like to present Amy and Kyle. We added a more digital and electronic component this time, in case you've heard Amy speak before. I'm going to let them do their own little bio. But again, thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry for those of you who might be behind the pillar, but all the slides are in your folders if you need anything. And if you do need a restroom, it's right down the hall to the right. So go ahead and let you get started. Super.
Welcome. My name's Amy Mesenbrink. I have been with First National Bank. This is my 30th year. Hard to believe, 30 years. I know I had my gray colored last week, so yes, 30 years. I would like to say this is my last time talking because we stopped all the fraud. Wouldn't that be nice? No, I will do this again and again and again to get the word out. When we're done here, I want you to go tell every single one of your friends what you heard today, because it's not just for you here. Nothing that we talk about today is private. I will never say customers' names. First of all, I'm terrible with names. Even with your name tags on, I'm still not great. So I will never use a name in the context, but I will tell you lots of stories that are happening here in Ames to our customers. So, Kyle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Hauswirth. I am the Information Security Officer and Cybersecurity Engineer for the Ames National Corporation, so the parent company of First National Bank. I handle all of the cybersecurity initiatives, as well as act as the subject matter expert on all cybersecurity topics for First National and the affiliate banks. I've been in cybersecurity for 6 years in a lot of different financial environments, as well as my most recent role was on Come and Go's security team before they were purchased by Maverick. I've been, same as Amy, kind of working to fight fraud and scams on a different style, but the same thing basically. For most of my time in cybersecurity, this is obviously a massive part of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Super. So we'll talk about the different scams out there, and Kyle will interject as to how it happens and how the bad guys get in. So he's the technical guy. I got the stories. Sound good? I'll pass around some handouts that I want back because these checks are fake. You can't cash them, so I would like them back at the end, okay?
If you try to cash them, it doesn't go well. And also, if you have questions at any point, please keep this informal, keep this conversational. Raise your hand, throw something at us, me, not Amy, but whatever you want to do, please definitely ask any questions you might have.
And he's also my IT guy if something doesn't work, so wonderful. So today we're going to go over some common scams. We're going to talk about AI, artificial intelligence, and ways you can prevent all of this from happening. So
we're going to start with just some common scams.
Okay, sudden riches. I don't know about you, but if you don't enter a lottery, you can't win the lottery, right? You would be surprised at the number of people that will bring in checks saying they won the lottery. My first question is, did you enter? because you can't win if you didn't enter. And if the answer is no, then chances are it's not real. I've got some examples of these sudden riches. Here's one that says they won $600,000 in a lottery, and it's an international lottery. Well, sorry to burst your bubble, but it's illegal to win proceeds of an international lottery. So the government's going to seize those funds anyway. But so if you won $600,000, he received a check for $9,526 to pay the taxes on it. Okay. I know a little bit about winning some prizes. Don't you have to pay like 50% in taxes? So this $9,500 check is bogus. So if this customer were to have put this check into their account and then spent the money, we get notification within about 3 business days that this check is bogus, and our customer's on the hook for it. So I'll send this around. You know, this one is dated 2023, so it's not super current, but current enough. Here's another one. This person won $850,000. The first clue to me is the paper's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit longer. Other countries use a different size paper, so chances are this did not originate in the United States. This person was sent a check for $3,700, and they're instructed to put this check in their account and then take cash out the very next day and go and turn it over to somebody else. So these are real life. They happen to our customers. Those were my sudden riches check scams. So you get notification in the mail that you won something, but you never entered, or maybe you did enter and you forgot about it, but nobody wins these. And if it's coming from Publishers Clearinghouse, somebody should be standing on your doorstep with the balloons and the flowers, right? If you don't have anybody with that giant check, and you know, I've worked here almost 30 years, I've never seen somebody bring in one of those checks to deposit in their account. I'm not sure how we would handle that, but it has yet to happen. So if you're ever given a check for an advance on your winnings, take a step back, pause. I always say, if I won any money, just send me the difference. You know, take the taxes out, then send me the difference. I'll take that check. So.
And this scam, unsurprisingly, as will be a common theme throughout this entire presentation, also has migrated online. Pop-ups a lot of times will tell you you've won big riches. And the other couple things you'll hear me mention a lot throughout today is going to be cryptocurrency and AI. AI does a very good job of knowing who you are and where you are at. Pattern recognition is one of the primary things that AI does really well. And and a lot of times these sudden riches schemes, when they are online, have everything to do with cryptocurrency. Generally, as a rule, avoid cryptocurrency. And we'll talk about that a little bit deeper here in a minute. But the scam looks basically like you've won X amount of dollars in Bitcoin, create a Bitcoin wallet, send us money to verify that your wallet is up and active, and then we will send you your winnings. Cryptocurrency, once you send that money, it is gone. And so these scams operate on a scale where if, 20 people send $300, that's a pretty good day's work, quote unquote. So same thing, same as in the mail. Be very, very weary of things that you are looking at online, especially scammy looking pop-up sites.
Scammy. Is that a word in the dictionary?
It is now.
Work at home scams. A lot of this came about, well, it's been around forever, but it was heightened during the pandemic. People wanted to work at home. They didn't want to do a lot of work, but they wanted to get paid a lot of money, right? So one of the work at home scams is you are to accept checks in the mail, deposit them, you get to keep 10% and then wire transfer the money somewhere else. Right? Sounds like who would do that? We've had customers fall for that. We had one case, it was out of the Des Moines market. We had a customer, she drove 45 minutes to open an account at our bank. You bank with convenience, right? Are you gonna drive to 45 minutes to that bank that's only in that town instead of where your own current location is? She opened an account with us, started to deposit checks, and every morning I look at all of our return deposit items, checks that you all deposit that came back for some reason. And one of them came back as stop payment, and in the memo line it said computer repairs, red flag. Now, why is my customer, just an individual, accepting checks for computer repairs? And how much would you spend to get your computer repaired when you can buy a new one, right? So these checks were $500 on up, and they were depositing them for their computer repairs. So long story short, we closed the account, notified the authorities. 2 years after this happened, they were arrested with criminal activity. A wife, a daughter-in-law, and an aunt, I think, were arrested. So that happens in Iowa. It was down south a little bit, but it started with a work-from-home scam. Here's some other ones. Mystery shopper, that's another work-from-home kind of scam. You should go to different places and shop them and then write up a report as to what happened. These are all mystery shopping scams. This one is probably one of my favorites. It's First National Bank cashier's check. All the information printed on the bottom of it is accurate, but this is not our check stock. We did not mail this to this person to mystery shop, and this is a counterfeit cashier's check. Just because it says cashier's check on the top of a check doesn't make it any more legal than any other check out there. Cashier's checks are counterfeited more often than personal checks, so don't take their word for it just because, here's one. It says official check. Official. It's still bogus, is what that title should be. I call these my snowy mountain checks. Like, kind of the background of it looks like snowy mountains. My salesman, to sell me cashier's check stock, tried to sell me this stock, and I was like, absolutely not. I tell people all the time that this is bogus. And he said, well, it's the cheapest check stock out there. Anybody can buy check stock. You can buy it online on Amazon. You can go to Staples and buy it. I haven't been to Walmart lately. I'm sure they sell some kind of check stock, but you just print them on your own printers at home. Here's one that was printed on a printer at home. This is a fake check. This person got an online job for online. Anyway, they're going to work in their customer service area, answering complaint phone calls. Who would want that job anyway? Answering complaint phone calls all day long. And so he got this check in the mail through email. It wasn't even in the mail. Through email, he was to print it off, take it to the bank, cash it, and then the next day go out and buy a computer so he could do his new work from home job. I said, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. All of this is bogus. This person found this job, the work from home job, on LinkedIn. Just when you think, oh, that site's pretty good, right? It's for professionals. Nope. I've seen more fraud come out of LinkedIn than actual good stuff. So, but working from home scams, I know we all want to work in our pajamas, but got to get out and get a in-person job.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
When somebody brings in a check like this, do you have much trouble convincing them that it is bogus?
That's a good question. People don't like to hear it from me necessarily. Sometimes I have to bring a police officer in because something about the uniform and the gun, maybe in a badge. I should get myself a badge. But sometimes that authority figure, they believe more often. A lot of times, if I'm absolutely positive it's a bogus check, I will confiscate it. And then I tell them I'm turning it over to the police. I have a whole pile of these. The police, they don't want to see these unless you're truly a victim. But I confiscate it because chances are they are not going to believe me. They're going to want to go down the road and go to a different branch and try to deposit it. There's a lot of warning signs on checks that I see as to, some people will tell me, well, can you tell me if that check's good? My first question right back to them is, where did you get it? Have you met this person in person? Meeting them over the internet is not meeting somebody in person. I want to shake their hand. Can you shake their hand? That's how you meet somebody. So those checks, they're all check stock. It's what's printed on the check that's not real. It's bogus. So I always say, how did you meet the person? Did you meet him in person? Are you selling something? Oh, well, we'll get into those scams here in a minute. But, so, did that answer your question?
Yeah. One more thing I want to touch on with work at home. This isn't so much a job as a lot of people define it as a side hustle, but who here has seen the opportunity to fill out surveys or stuff like that online for money? Most of us, right? Some of those are quote unquote legitimate, but they're also act as pretty heavy data harvesting. Your data is worth a lot of money, and those pennies on the dollar that you might get paid for filling out those surveys are worth nothing compared to the data you're giving away to these companies that sometimes it has been tracked to end up in scammers' hands, and they utilize that data that you have given to then turn around and attempt to scam you. So be weary of basically anything that you can do online to make a quick buck. We'll say this a lot today too, but if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Mystery shopper, I touched on that a little bit. We do have, well, we used to have people that would mystery shop us as employees. They want to make sure we use their name in conversation. We greet them with a smile. We answer the phone within 3 rings. Those are mystery shopping. We never pay thousands of dollars to have this done. This mystery shopper that I got, she actually sent me what she got in the mail. She was told to go to Walmart, to Sears. That dates it right there, Sears. McDonald's and Western Union. So, and then she's supposed to fill out some paperwork and go from there. But mystery shopping, there are legitimate companies out there, but you're not paid thousands of dollars. It's more like $50 to do one mystery shop. So I don't see this a lot anymore. It's slowed down a bit. Doesn't mean it's gone. And all of the scams we talk about today, this is not all of them. We cannot tell you every single one of the scenarios that could happen to you. So if there's a play on one of these that could happen, just be leery, you know.
The common thread is always going to be slow down, take a second look at everything you get, because some of these people are incredibly talented at trying to separate people from their money. Like scarily so.
Overpayments. I had this last week. We had a gentleman, he listed his motorcycle for sale, and he received a check in the mail for $2,000 more than he listed his motorcycle for sale. I don't like overpaying for anything, right? If the blueberries ring up 5 cents more than they said on the sheet, that makes me mad. So I'm not going to pay $2,000 extra for something. So the scam all the way, they're all the same. You are told to put this in your account the very next day, then you're to take the money out and send it somewhere or whatever. This, he didn't get very far because we told him it was bogus and they sent me the original check, but it's real check stock. It's printed on real check stock, but all of the information on it is not real. So just when I think, oh, that scam has slowed down a little bit, it's gone. Nope. Popped right back up last week. Here's one of our customers. They were selling a cello online. Got paid $1,000 more than he listed it for sale. And unfortunately, this gentleman could really have used the money. So, but this came in a USPS envelope. Now it becomes a federal offense. So you got to catch the person first, though. So that was one. Here's an employee, Cindy Worth works upstairs. Her husband received a check through USPS, so now it's a federal offense. He was prepaid for some future work. He received this check in the mail. It says cashier's check, but everything printed on it is bogus. $3,250. So thankfully, Cindy knew the warning signs and said, oh, this sounds bad, I'm not doing it. And she brought it for my folder. So overpayments, if you ever are selling something, careful of people that don't want to see the item in person. I don't know what that dollar amount is. Now, what would you buy sight unseen? $50? $500? Yeah, it's amazing. So this person was willing to buy this motorcycle that they've never seen for $8,000. I want to make sure the motorcycle starts. First of all, I don't want a motorcycle, okay? Don't try and sell me your motorcycle. I had one a couple years ago, we finally sold it, so I don't have a motorcycle anymore. But I want to make sure it's legitimate and it starts, the tires work, whatever, kick the tires. I don't want to like hope that I don't get scammed. I did have one gentleman, he wanted to buy an antique pickup truck, sight unseen, from Florida. And I warned him against it. I'm like, oh, this makes me so nervous. I said, if you get it, could you bring it here and show me that you got it? And he did. He brought it, it got shipped. This was months later, it got shipped. He pulled it out in the parking lot and I went out and saw it. So one time that it worked, one time. Had another gentleman buy something online, and the only payment they would take was a wire transfer. And we warn people and warn them that if you send a wire transfer, once the money's gone, we can't get it back for you. And it turned out that that was a scam, and he never got his motorcycle. I don't know what it is about motorcycles. I don't know, but overpayments, yeah, they are cool.
Well, that's also a good point then, that brings it up, Amy. If someone does get scammed, if someone willingly gives their money to a criminal, what's the recourse? How can a person be made whole? Is it possible?
Very, very, very slim chance of getting any money back. There are ways to, well, you can file a police report. If you sent the money outside of Story County, it's very hard for other counties to work together. They draw kind of a threshold dollar amount. So $5,000 to us, that's a lot of money. The government doesn't, or the FBI doesn't really like to get involved for anything under $500,000. So $5,000 is a lot to us, but the police, they do not have the manpower to investigate every one of these. So very, very hard to get your money back. That's why we try to protect you so much before we let it out of the building. So this one is probably one of the top 3 scams that are
I
out
would
there.
say top one.
The top
right
one.
now,
The top
honestly.
one. Yeah, I'm gonna defer this all to Kyle because he's the IT guy, so.
All right, so yeah, this one, actually, I got a call yesterday from my grandparents about something exactly like this. There was this can take many, many different styles. It can look very different depending on the website you were on, depending on what you clicked. But basically, there are many different ways that a pop-up can appear on your computer. And sometimes that pop-up will lock you out of your computer. It will make it so you can't shut it off. It will make it so you can't move your mouse. And it'll make your speakers go really loud and yell at you about your computer has been infected. Or it could be as simple as notifications popping up constantly in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen that say your computer's infected, call this number to get it fixed. The common theme is that they all have a number that they will be telling you to call. At that point, if you call them, they're going to say, yes, this is Microsoft, this is XYZ. I've even heard of one saying, this is the FBI. We've seen your computer being used for malicious activity. We need to get in to fix it. And that's going to be the next step here, is they're always going to ask to access your computer remotely. So a couple things to always look out for. If someone says the words TeamViewer, hang up on them immediately. If someone says remote access in any way, shape, or form, or asking you to give them access to your computer, hang up on them immediately. Because at that point, you let them into your computer and they're going to probably black out your screen, because a lot of remote access tools allow them to black your screen. How many people here save their passwords to their accounts? So banks, things like that, within the tools on your computer. If your browser asks you if you want to remember this password, how many utilize tools like that? A lot, right? Which of course means that if you give someone remote access to your computer, they can then potentially gain access to your bank accounts, to your retirement accounts, to your credit card accounts, and take that information, take the money from you. It does not take a lot to transfer basically everything you have out. And a lot of these scammy organizations will have scripts that can do it in under a second. The technology exists and it's not even that incredibly complicated anymore. So just always be very cognizant of where you are going on the internet. Never give anyone access to your computer that shouldn't have it. If you get a pop-up saying you need to call this number because you are infected, that should be an immediate red flag. You should shut your computer and take it to something like a Best Buy or Hometown Tech, I've heard here is good, or even just call someone in your life who you think might be techie. Because a lot of these are not hard to get rid of. They just look very, very, very scary and obnoxious. Yes.
I have a question. We use like McAfee or Norton as protection on our computers.
Yep.
But I was told, by like when it says 5 different devices or whatever, I was told by some of the phone outlet places not to use it on your phone, even though you can, because it will slow your phone down and cause other problems. What is your opinion of whether you should use it on your phones, whether Apple or iOS, or Android? What's your opinion on that?
So this is personal. This is not professional advice. This is not to be construed as any sort of like anything like that. But I don't use it on my personal devices. I personally don't even pay for things like Norton or McAfee.
Okay.
The tools that Microsoft offers on Windows PCs do a fantastic job now. In fact, those are a lot of times more highly rated than the paid ones.
So their protector that's on there already, you think is good enough?
Microsoft Defender, yes, it has constantly gotten awards in, especially recently. They've done a lot of work building that, and there are companies now using that on an enterprise grade. It is integrated directly into your computer. It has deeper access than anything you can buy. The one thing I will say though is don't have 2 antivirus programs running on your computer at the same time. They can, 2 antivirus solutions can actually shut certain parts of the other one down because they're seeing each other as
You need
malicious.
to delete one off, or they work against each other.
Yes, they basically fight, and they will drastically both degrade the amount of computing capacity you have and degrade the protection. And the other thing that I've said it once, and I'll probably say it a dozen more times, if you ever hear the word Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, hang up immediately, because it is a scam.
Yes. If you can't tell me how Bitcoin or cryptocurrency works, you probably should not be investing in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Who here can tell me what the blockchain is? Okay, one?
Yeah, and Bill.
So probably still don't send Bitcoin to random people.
Yes.
Just for fidelity.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Bitcoin, like there's a small chance of when things like wires get sent out, they can be clawed back. Small.
Yes.
Bitcoin, that chance doesn't exist. Bitcoin is anonymized for the most part. These criminals do a very good job of making that completely untraceable. And we'll talk about crypto more, I promise.
Yeah. So computer problems, we see this every week. Somebody had a pop-up on their computer. They called the number on the pop-up. Well, that's just the number to the bad guys. If you Google the phone number for said, antivirus, a lot of times the wrong phone number comes up first. You can't be guaranteed that is the correct phone number. We always say go to a trusted site, go to the site you signed up with the software to access the phone numbers. You can't trust anything on the internet anymore, unfortunately. So careful, very careful. Email compromise is another huge one. At First National Bank, we don't do anything through email alone. If you email me to make a transfer for you, I will call you and we'll talk through it over the phone. If you send an email saying you want to do a wire transfer, I'm going to call you and say, we need you to come into the bank to do that. We want your wet signature to do a wire transfer. Email compromise happens all the time. We have one of our employees, her husband is a pastor up at Gilbert Lutheran Church. He's had his email hacked on 2 different known occasions. The bad guys changed an email, like one letter, made an L look like a number 1 instead. So like just by glancing at it, it looks like it's coming from the right person. And the fake email was sent out to the whole parish, and it was asking for gift cards for a sick individual. And some people saw it and said, this doesn't seem right, and notified them right away. And they sent out a legitimate email saying, do never ever buy gift cards and read the number over the phone. I've got an example about that in a minute. But if you get an email from somebody and it's urgent, I lost my passport, I lost my phone, I only have access to email, could you send me some money? Seems silly, right? We had a customer come in and they wanted to send money because they got an email from their friend. And I said, have you tried calling your friend? No, they said they lost their phone. I said, just try it. Try calling your friend and asking if they are in fact without their phone. They were not. So email compromise happens all the time. How it happens?
Multiple different ways. The best one is social engineering or phishing. You get an email with a link that looks legitimate asking for you to log in to gain access to any number of things, XYZ, a document that someone said they are looking to send to you. It could be something as simple as a job opportunity or tying into one of the other various scams we've talked about. Then this really fancy looking Microsoft screen pops up or Google screen pops up and it says enter your username and password to log in. You do that. That's a fake website. They've scraped your username and password, and then they turn around and utilize that username and password to access your email, access your kid's email, access. We'll talk about phones here in a minute, but I have a really weird phone anecdote here that is jarring to say the least. But there are a lot of different ways you can accidentally give someone access to your email address maliciously. We will talk about really good ways to protect yourself from that at the end of this as well, though, because while phishing and social engineers, like I said, they are really, really good at getting you to give up your information. There are a lot of really easy things you can do to protect yourself as well.
Yes. We have a customer that received a large ACH into their account, a direct deposit. Social Security gets ACH'd into your account. My payroll gets automatically put into my account. So this customer got a large ACH into their account. And I was like, this doesn't seem legitimate. So I looked up the information that came with it. I called the bank where the funds came from. They gave me their customer's phone number, which I'm not really sure they should have, but so I called the customer that authorized this ACH. I called them and I said, why did you send my customer in Ames, Iowa, $100,000? And her response was, I got an email from my boss telling me to send this money. I said, well, could you go check with your boss, like in person, to see if they actually sent that? And she called me back. She goes, oh my gosh, his email was compromised. Could you return the money? And I said, yeah, you're welcome. No, thank you. No flowers or candy or anything. But we returned the funds. I did talk to our customer and I said, were you expecting that money? And he said, yeah, I was expecting it. I was getting paid back from a friend that I loaned the money to. So yeah, very complicated circle, but he was trying to receive funds from somebody's email that had gotten compromised. So I warned that person who took the email from their boss to pay a bill, and I said, you should probably rethink how you get bills paid in your office, because just through an email is crazy. So email compromise happens all the time, all the time. If you get an email that is urgent in nature, wants you to do something right away, take a step back and just investigate a little further. In your packet, there's a red social engineering red flag checklist. It's just giving you some ideas as to what to look for in emails. Look for grammar. Grammar's huge. Yeah.
Not anymore, unfortunately. Artificial intelligence is a thing. I told you we were going to get back here, and AI has made it infinitely easier to craft flawless phishing emails.
Well, darn it.
There are entirely dedicated AI tools that are built around socially engineering people. So stealing from you, unfortunately.
So by the end of today's presentation, you're not going to want to open any email. You're not going to want to like answer any phone call, nothing. So yes. Anyway, these are some keys to look for when you get an email that you're just not quite sure of. Always take a step back, have somebody else look at it. I used to have a customer, he would print off every single email he had and bring it in for me to look at. I'd be happy to do that, so.
Yes, question.
It's kind of in between some of these areas, but
Yeah.
my parents received a thing from Wolf-Eye Clinic that their information had all been
Yep.
breached and everything. And then also my wife had got something from her job and then they gave us credit monitoring for 2 years, 5 years, whatever. But then when you talk to the credit monitoring place, they want your social security number, they want your birth date, they want all this stuff to be able to track it more efficiently. I guess I'm wondering, you've already been breached on one, do you really want them to have because they said we can do certain without it, but if we want to do it fully thoroughly, we need your social security, your birth date, where you're born, all these different stuff. I guess that made me a little nervous. Do we really want to give them all that additional money, even though I did verify with Wolf-Eye Clinic and with her employer, it was federal government actually, but that there was the breach and they said, yes, and this is a legitimate credit monitoring service. But I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
Do you want to take this one or I can?
Oh,
So, okay.
yeah.
I'll dive into this first, then Amy can give her response. So, that's basically a personal risk assessment. Is there enough value in credit monitoring that you're willing to take that risk? Because yes, companies do get compromised all the time. Even the companies that maintain our credit have been breached in the past. And is it worth the risk of giving another company your data? Now, the corollary to that and the more dark side is that most likely, and this is the disclaimer is most likely, all of your information has been leaked at some point or another already. Unfortunately, most Americans have. Our data protection laws are not fantastic. There's hardly any real incentive outside of lost trust for companies to keep your data as safe and secure as possible. For massive companies, the fines that they get for data breaches are slaps on the wrist and pennies on the dollar that just equate to the cost of doing business. If someone really, really wanted to find your information, unfortunately, it probably would not be that hard. I recommend having your credit locked. If you aren't planning on utilizing credit, locking your credit is a great way to just make sure that, hey, no one can touch it. It's frozen. If you need to use credit, it's not hard to unlock your credit, to unfreeze your credit for a while you do your loan or whatever you need to do. Because this is unfortunately the world we live in. Amy, any?
Yes, I definitely freeze your credit. If you're not planning on buying a new car or buying a house or anything where you need to get a loan, freeze your credit. It is a little bit of a pain. You have to call the 3 different credit bureaus, but it's peace of mind is huge. And it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. I give these presentations all the time. I had 2 accounts opened in Florida a few years ago. I haven't been to Florida forever, and let alone I did not open 2 new accounts in Florida. And how I was notified about it, I got the welcome letter in the mail. And I was like, I did not do this. So got on right away and got everything shut down. But it's the hassle of having to go through it. So yes, freezing your credit's huge. Pull your credit once a year. You get a copy of it once a year. Scrub through it. Go through every line and make sure that, yes, I still have that credit card and it should not have a balance on it. If there is anything on your credit that you did not authorize, did not sign up for, definitely work on getting it cleaned up.
You're talking like annualcreditreport.com.
Yes, yes, and annualcreditreport.com, if you have to ever enter your credit card information, you're in the wrong site.
Yes.
So it's free. You should be able to get 1 copy per year.
Legally, yes. It is a federal law that you have to have access to your credit report at least once a year.
Yes. So somebody else have a question? Yes.
So the annual credit report, that's a website, a government website? That
Yes.
you can go to, but you're going to enter your private information into that.
Yes. It will ask you questions only you should know based on your credit history, where your loan was, your home loan was, where your car loan was, what was your address 2 times ago, or, something only you should know. LexisNexis?
Theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, theoretically.
When you freeze your credit, you have to call Experian and all those and freeze it individually with each of the big ones.
That's what I did, yes.
I believe there's also ways to do it online now as well. You can freeze your credit online, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly certain.
But I called just TransUnion and they notified the other two. They notified Experian and
Equifax.
Equifax. And I got notifications from Experian and Equifax and TransUnion that they'd all put that credit freeze on.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's been years since I've put a freeze on my credit, so I know, hopefully they've gotten better at this, but yeah, I always want to check to make sure they did their job, so that the fact that they sent notification then after, yes. Way over there.
So kind of related to that, so if you custom this,
That's a good question.
Yes, I believe the data comes from all three, because you have a credit score from each of the 3 primary credit reporting facilities. I have not requested mine in like 2 years, so
Kyle's gonna do that tomorrow. Go check that out.
recently I received a letter saying that
They do this kind of nonsense every so often. The companies have these 3 massive companies that our financial system is functionally built on have had their fair share of inner spats throughout the years. Because that happened, like 10 years ago, didn't we do that too, where 2 of them stopped talking for a while and it becomes a whole, so that's probably something that definitely happened. And there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. These massive companies just are bricks upon which our entire financial system is built.
Yeah, that's why I like to call each of the 3 to make sure they got my freeze done correctly, so. Yeah, and it's not super fast, so I'm hoping the online is a little bit quicker, but yeah.
Going back to email compromise just one time though, this is often the key. This is the first scam that then they will build on everything else. They'll get into your email and utilize your email to send malicious emails to your kids or grandkids or friends and family, and just propagate from there. Because once you're in a trusted person's email, it becomes really easy to abuse that trust down the chain. Or they'll take your email and, go in and change your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever social media accounts you might own. They'll change those passwords and lock you out of all your stuff, and then utilize those social media accounts to scam people.
Have you ever received an email and it's coming from somebody you know, and in the body of the email it says, check out this video, and there's a link to click on? That person who you thought the email was coming from had their email compromised. So if you ever see an email come in and you're supposed to click on a link, never, ever, ever, ever. And I would then pick up the phone and call your friend you got it from and say, hey, I think your email's been hacked. So yeah, anytime I send my mom something that I want her to actually click on, I follow it up with a phone call. Yeah, I just sent you an email. It's safe. Please open that, because it's got something for you. But otherwise, if you just get an email that said, click on this funny dog video. I know we all like to see the funny dog videos, but it's not worth it. That's where they get in, like Kyle said. So, wait.
Leah, did you have a question, or were you? Okay, perfect.
Super. Grandparent phone scam. We've all heard this, right? I'm now a new grandma, so I could get one of these calls, I suppose, but
Next couple of years.
yes, and not anytime soon. But it's that phone call, and hey, grandma, I'm in trouble. Can you help me? I know we've all heard it. It's still happening though. It is still happening. We had one of our customers. It wasn't a grandparent phone scam. It was a scam on her own daughter. She received a phone call that her daughter was in trouble and she was to take out $8,000 and somebody would pick it up at her house. Yeah, you know, years ago, it was all, you'd send the cash through the mail, right? It was never in person. So she was scared out of her mind. She came in, took out $8,000. Somebody met her at her front door to pick up this money. I think that right there is one of the scariest parts. The person that actually picked up the money wasn't the actual bad guy. The person that picked it up is what we call a money mule. They're just one of these, I need to work and make some money. Okay, I've got this job that I applied for, and my job is to go and pick up packages at people's houses and then take this money, and chances are they were to feed it into an ATM to buy crypto. We do have 2 of those ATMs in Ames. There's one on the west side and one on right down by Bandshell, where you can walk in, you can take piles of cash and feed it into the ATM to buy Bitcoin.
There's now one in the North Fairway too.
Oh, nice. Yes. So I did have a police officer ask me, how can we combat this? How can we stop it? And I said, can you just post an officer outside the building? She said, well, we can't really do
Stop
that.
people from using those
Yeah.
Bitcoin ATMs, yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's legitimate purpose for them. I just have not seen that yet. But so this person thought their daughter was in trouble. They had somebody pick up $8,000 from their doorstep, and then they, I don't know, came to their senses, filed a police report. Can you get my money back? No, I can't get your money back. It's gone. And then trying to identify the person that actually came and picked up the money and to find that person. Yeah, it's sad. I did hear about another instance in the Ace Hardware parking lot. Somebody had liquidated their whole retirement fund in cash, met somebody in the Ace Hardware parking lot, and handed it all over.
Why
Yeah.
the Ace Hardware parking lot, Amy?
Yeah.
Because there's no cameras there.
They did use whatever camera footage they could, but yeah, these bad guys know exactly where to have them meet and greet places. But if anybody's ever threatening you, call the police. That's what they're there for. Call the actual police. So grandparent phone scam, we've all heard of it, but if somebody's in trouble, please just call the parents. Call your parents. If you don't want to call them, you come in, I will call the parents for you.
Or call your grandchild.
Yep, call the
Because
grandchild.
this scam has also gotten a fun little AI makeover in the last couple years. So first of all, the phone number. It takes about $10 to get a service online to spoof your phone number to make it look like it's coming from anywhere. It would take me about 10 minutes and $10, like I said, to call you and make it look like First National Bank is calling you. You cannot trust the phone numbers necessarily that are coming into your phone. Secondly, AI again. 3 words. It takes roughly 3 to 4 words of hearing you talk to completely rebuild your voice in tone and tenor using an AI voice model. And it is eerily accurate and terrifying. I have recommended to my family, they don't listen to me about these things, but I'm going to recommend to you as well. Take your voice off of your phone voicemail. Because that's a pretty easy way. If I call you at 2 a.m. and get your voicemail and you're like, hi, this is Kyle Hauswirth, thanks for giving me a call, I'm not available right now. That is infinitely enough to grab my voice and create a voice model on it that would fool probably even my family. It is objectively terrifying. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, AI makes all of this work infinitely harder to try to combat.
Social media is a huge arena for the bad guys to look around in, and they gather pieces of information. We had a customer, their grandson played baseball, and they got a phone call that their grandson was in trouble. He got in a car accident where he was in training camp. I mean, so this bad guy knew so much information about our customer's grandson that it was believable, and our customer was scared to death about it. So the amount of information that you share on social media, be very cautious, very cautious.
And look at your privacy settings. There are tools that you can utilize to lock down your social media. and make sure that only people who you are friends with have access to it. And be very careful of who you add as friends.
Yeah. If you get a friend request and you're like, man, I thought we were already friends, chances are it's the bad guys pretending to be your friend. And I would say it right now, you have enough friends. I would not take any more friend requests off of Facebook. You have plenty. So, yeah. Grandparents phone scam, just be very careful. If somebody doesn't say their name to you, don't assume who you're talking to. I'd like to say, hey, Grandma, it's your favorite granddaughter, right? I'm one of 26, so I'd like to think I was at the top, but maybe not. Maybe it was Cousin Nikki. I don't know. But
Also, in the realm of kind of AI terrifyingness, work with your family and loved ones to maybe put together some sort of identifying phrase or verbiage you can utilize to ensure, or a duress phrase or verbiage that if something is wrong, they can utilize to maybe securely say that something is wrong. There are a lot of really messed up things out there. Like I said, AI makes it really, really hard to verify, because I have created a voice model of myself and my wife could not tell the difference.
like I said, we're going to scare you today, right? So that's enough about grandparent scams. Hotel scams, have not heard about these a lot lately, but if you're at a hotel now that we're traveling again and you get a phone call in your room, first of all, doesn't that scare you to death anyway? Like, why is the phone ringing in the hotel room? But if somebody calls saying they're the front desk, just be very leery. This has happened. Bad guys call in to the hotel and say, can you connect me with room number, whatever, and they make up a room number. And then they get patched in, and there's a problem with your credit card. Can you read that to me over the phone? This happened. We were my dad and my kids and I were up in Minnesota, and the phone rang in the hotel room. And every scam like this, I tell my dad about, so he's extra cautious, right? And so he got a call from the front desk. He goes, "I'll be right down," and marched down there and took care of whatever. And it was actually the front desk calling, but it doesn't happen very often. I do have one story, the grandparent phone scam. My dad got a phone call. He doesn't answer the phone all that often, but he got a phone call, and he's heard me tell these stories before. And he answered, and "Grandpa, it's me," and it was a male voice. And it's like, "Oh, really? What's happened?" "Oh, I was in an accident. I hit somebody, and their head fell off." So I think it was that person, maybe their first day on the job or whatever. And my dad goes, "Oh, that's too bad. Sorry," and hung up on him. So I know. We've all been raised to be polite over the phone and not hang up on anybody. I give you the permission to hang up on anybody that is calling you and telling you that somebody's head fell off. So, but that was one story. So hotel scams, not very often. Here's one that we talked about a little bit. The IRS is calling you. The IRS will never call you. It will never pick up the phone. And right now there's a shortage of IRS workers, right? They will definitely not be calling you. If you owe money to the IRS, what they do is they send a levy to the bank, and I get all those, and I take the funds out of your account and mail it back to the IRS. They will never call you. So if you receive a phone call from them and you're instructed in how to pay for this, you pay them through iTunes gift cards.
Logically.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I just picture a bunch of IRS agents sitting around the table with their iTunes gift cards, like buying stuff.
On their government-issued BlackBerries, yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, the government, first of all, will never call you. They will never call you, but it looks like they're calling you. And, you know, if you see IRS on your caller ID, it's probably going to make you panic a little bit, right? But it is that same technology they paid for.
Yes.
One other question, kind of relating a little bit to this, and this is not meant as a political question or anything like that.
Sure.
So clarify. I was watching one of those shows yesterday or this morning or whatever, and it was like Today's Show or one of those, and I just caught the end of it. And it says that they're looking at eliminating the Consumer Financial Protection Agency or something like that.
Yep.
And it said that you should do these things. And of course, I missed what you were supposed to do on that after they're eliminating. So I guess I'm wondering, what are there additional things you should do to protect yourself? And that's because they said that was supposed to help prevent fraud and other things like that. So I guess I was wondering, any recommendations on that? because I missed whatever they were gonna say.
Yeah, now I have to go back and look. Was it the Today Show?
It was either Today or Good Morning America, one of those, I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I would just be very diligent. I mean, if you know you paid your taxes, chances are they're not calling you because you didn't pay your taxes. So if you know you did something and somebody's telling you you didn't, be diligent. Do not buy gift cards to pay for anything. These are a pile of gift cards one of our customer bought. $18,500 if you wanted a visual. There's Best Buy, there's Target, there's, what are these, Walmart money cards? $18,500. This started with a phone call. What did he say? About his identity being stolen. And I talked to him and he said he got a phone call from the fraud department. If you ever get a phone call and it's saying it's from the fraud department, hang up right away. You can come into the bank and talk to the fraud department if you want. We'll come down and sit with you. But he was instructed that there's possible identity theft on his social security number. He was instructed to go to his bank and take out all the money and buy gift cards, read the numbers off the back of the gift cards to them, and then they in turn would hold the funds securely in a treasury check. So he brought this treasury check, this picture of one, and he said, how do I get this back in my account? Well, the bad guys took an image of a real treasury check, they put his name on that, and they got him to turn over all of this. The sad part is these bad guys are so good at coaching that when he came in, we asked questions. We asked, to protect you from yourself and protect you from your money. That other handout in your packet, these are questions that we ask. We want you to just take a step back, read through this. Can you answer yes to any of these questions? If you can answer yes to any of these questions, please stop. Please stop. So when he came in, he told us he was buying a car. And he went in and got $10,000 out the very first time, and he told us he was buying a car. Okay. I mean, it's your money. Ultimately, we cannot keep you from your money. But if you can answer yes to any of these questions, please stop. And then he went across town to another branch and took out $8,500 more and bought more gift cards with it. He said he spent roughly like a day and a half on the phone with these bad guys. They were heavily invested in draining him of all of his money.
And yeah, they will be really good at scaring you.
Yeah.
They will do everything they can to make sure that you know that if you don't do what they say, you will go to jail. You will never see your family again. They will push every pressure point that exists for people to get you to do this. They will coach you what to say when the bank manager asks for X, Y, and Z. A lot of times they'll even have you stay on the phone when you're in the bank so they can hear you. And they say, if we hear you answer anything else, you're going to jail. They will do everything in their power. And the most insulting part about this is $18,500 worth of gift cards. What happens after the criminals get those numbers?
The cards are worthless.
Well, yes, that absolutely. They turn around and sell these gift cards for pennies on the dollar. Because it didn't cost anything for them, and they probably left with, I'd guess, around $3,000 worth of actual profit. Because gift card brokers exist online, they turn around, sell these numbers to those gift card brokers, and the brokers pay pennies on the dollar for the cards. And so this entire customer's life savings reduced to about $3,000 in profit for some scumbag scammer somewhere.
Because they answered a phone call that they thought was the fraud department. So never ever rely solely on your caller ID. That hurts me to say that because I love caller ID, right?
It's a great tool,
Yeah.
but it is a tool.
Yes, definitely. You can set up different settings in your phone that if somebody's calling you that's not in your contacts, that you are to, it goes right into your junk voicemail. So, got an emergency?
Yeah, that's a very important setting. In my opinion, it's something that should be turned on by default. I don't believe it is, but there is ways to turn on your phone where if you get a call from a number that is not in your contacts, it kicks directly to voicemail. If it's important, they can leave a voicemail and you can get back to them later.
Yes.
So several times over the years, they suspect some suspicious.
Yep.
And they've all turned out.
Yep.
Cautions.
So those calls are pretty simple. They're gonna call and say like, hey, we've detected fraud on this account. This is the transaction. You're gonna say yes or no, and that should be the end of that conversation. There should never be any, well, we need your social security number, we need your credit card number. Because those calls also definitely exist where they're like, hey, we've noticed some fraud on your account. Can you verify your credit card number with us? Your bank is never going to ask that to verify. They're going to say, we've noticed fraud on your account, here's the transactions, can you verify if this is real? If you say no, they'll go through the process of burning your card and getting you a new one, maybe opening you a new account if necessary. If you say yes, that's the end of that call.
The key is don't divulge additional personal information.
Yes.
Amy, would you say that's?
Yes, and the key was don't give them more information than what they already have. Yes, definitely. I got a phone call from the credit union wanting to verify 2 different transactions. And I was like, funny. And so I played along with them. I said, oh, really? My bank wouldn't call me. And this is a credit union. And he said, well, I just need to verify 2 transactions. And he wanted me to say no, that I didn't make these transactions. And he read off the first one. I said, oh, yeah, yep, I made that. It was $400 at PayPal or something. And the next one came up and I said, yes, I made that one as well. And I was not playing along with what he was looking for a response from me. And so he said, okay, bye. Yeah. But if I would have said no, then, oh, your card's been hacked, your account's been hacked, and on and on and on. So I like to answer the phone at my parents' house just to shut down these bad guys from calling. I want their number off of the list of whatever list they got put on. There was a call once that it said, press 1 if you didn't make this transaction. So I played along, press 1. I'm at my parents' house. And I got an actual person on the phone and they said, well, what can I help you with? And I said, well, you called me and asked me about a transaction. Oh, yes. Did you make that transaction? And I made the mistake. I giggled a little bit. And they said, what, you think this is funny? And I said, don't you ever call back. And they hung up on me. So anyway.
So this is an important point to make here, though. Amy and I are professionals. We deal with this daily. Don't mess with scammers, please. It is not worth it. And I have definitely seen people get taken by trying to mess with scammers. They fall into it themselves. Yes, sir.
Do they have a list of easy, very susceptible?
Marks is what
We're on a, yeah, we're, so I bet we have to deal with at least 5 scams. It's gotta be, never, not close, but we never gave over any money on any of them, but we seem to still be on their list.
Yep. So that's a great question. The question was basically, how do you end up on a scammer's list? And the answer is there are kind of endless ways. If you have ever engaged with a scammer in what they see as a productive way, you can end up on these lists. And these lists get propagated throughout the dark web. And once you're on them, it's really, really tough to get off. The other way, if you've ever gotten one of those really, really bad looking emails or really bad and obvious looking calls and engaged with it at all. Those are called initiating calls or initiating emails. And those basically say that you might be susceptible to this. The other way, and probably one of the more common ways, is data brokers. Like I said, your data is incredibly valuable and is being collected by basically everyone. And anyone can buy lists from these data brokers. And so it is very possible to say, I want people of retirement age, from X and Y in rural Iowa with a estimated value of X million dollars. They get that list, off to the races, calling you with all these different scams. Unfortunately, data governance and data protection laws in the US are not up to the standard of keeping you safe. All right, question back here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna comment. Sometimes it's credit card hacking. Where you don't know, leave an email. So, really, just call them.
Yep.
That's the only number.
Yep.
Even if it's like it's from the company, but AI could scan appearance. So, stand up on hold for the next available representative, and you have a hold for a while. But that's the way we try to deal with it, and we don't share the information.
So that's really good. That's called out-of-band confirmation. Never call a number or respond to an email that you aren't sure about. Look on the back of your card. There is a contact number on the back of every credit and debit card in the country. Look on the back of that, call that. That's a guaranteed number for your credit card company.
I have a question. I think a lot of the things you're saying are great ideas, but one of them I don't know if it would work with what has happened with me. I haven't got too many scammers, but I have one that's really annoying me. They keep calling and it said First National Bank even once. And I figured maybe Amy wanted something. Or it says a friend of ours name or something. It shows up in the caller ID. And I pick it up and it says, we're here to help you with your Medicare, whatever. And I'm like, okay, first of all, we're not of Medicare age, so get that. And then I said, put me on your do not call list. And then I hang up. But I still then later on a number will show up. So I can't really block the numbers because they're spoofing numbers that are legitimate numbers or whatever with people's names on or places. How would you, and also I've heard you can somehow get to the money if you can find out who it is, you could sue them or something like that. Or I don't know, they're probably in Africa or somewhere, but I'm just wondering.
So the lawsuit is more of an urban myth than not. That has to deal with much more of the federal do not call list. If telemarketers are calling you, you can sue for restitution, but it's like pennies on the dollar. It's not worth the time and effort you put into it. That's one of the worst parts about what these scammers are doing right now is they are functionally devaluing our phone system. I read a story about a hiker who got lost in some national park somewhere, and they had their phone still worked, they had service. They tried calling people, but people didn't answer because they basically had been conditioned to not answer phone calls because they were all just scams. This person was rescued, thank God, but it very much makes it incredibly difficult to interact with our phone system because of these nonsense calls we get.
So with the spoofing, if it's a number, there's not much.
There's not much you can do about it. No, I personally have locked down my phone. My contact list is very slim. Like I've got, and anyone who is calling me not on that list, I have a Google Pixel phone, so it has AI call screening, and it can actually talk to the person and be like, hey, this Kyle is using a AI call screening feature. Tell us what you're calling about. And if they start spouting off scam nonsense that just hangs up on him, if they say, hey, this is X, Y, or Z, I get actually a message that says, hey, this call is coming in. I don't believe that Apple has anything like that. But again, you shrink that contact list down to where it's slim. Say, if you are not in this list, you can leave me a voicemail and I will call you back.
Well, we do have a video of a police officer who received a scam call, and this is just what one of them sounds like. So,
yeah. Let's see if this works.
No. No, I'm not going to give you my address. If you have my file on me, you should know what my address is.
You need to understand one thing over here, that I'm trying to cooperate with you on the recorded time, and able you to cooperate with me.
Address is 205 Saunders, Saunders Street in Apex, North Carolina. I'm gonna confirm my social security number with you. I'm not gonna do that. I'd like to just speak to your supervisor now, please. That's correct.
Okay, now go ahead and let me know how many banks are originally owned by you. It has nothing to do with illegal activities.
Well, if it has nothing to do with illegal activities, why do I have to give you tell you how many bank accounts I have?
You do not tell me how many bank accounts you have. We'll go ahead and suspend all the bank accounts which are connected to your social security. Do not blame us if you trying to help you out over here.
I just don't understand why I'm giving you I would like to know what the allegations are against me and what you're gonna take out a warrant for.
Right now, there are two criminal charges against you. Number one, and number two, money laundering.
Well, that's better than the 25 the first guy told me were out against me.
Yeah, so some different takeaways from that. You could hear was like a call center, very noisy. We've seen videos and different webinars about these call centers. It's a room full of people that are being held against their will, human trafficked, forced to make these phone calls. And if they don't, then it could end their life over it. So chances are, you know, these aren't, well, definitely not the original police department, but they're instructed, they have this whole list of code words to use, you know, scripts to go by, and accents are pretty heavy. The ones I've seen, yeah, a little bit hard to understand. I've also heard they're getting better at that too. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to sound like it's coming from India, but a lot of the call centers are well, definitely they're overseas. But the insisting and using the keyword money laundering, drug trafficking. So I like that video because it was short. There's lots of videos out there of these bad guys, people recording the phone calls. So if you're bored, you can look them up on YouTube, but go down a rabbit hole. So police department scams as well, just like the IRS. The police, they're not going to call you. If there's an outstanding warrant for your arrest, they're going to show up at your house. They like that sneak attack, right? If you remember years ago, the police department, they were doing a fundraiser selling garbage bags. Remember that? Well, they quit doing that because people quit answering the phone because they don't want to buy any garbage bags from the police. But it's just all of these scams out there. If, like I said, the police will show up in person if there's a problem. They like to do that. We like to watch Cops on Thursday nights, different episodes of Cops. They like to show up in person. So if you ever get a phone call saying it's the police, they also do not take payment in iTunes gift cards.
As it turns out.
Yeah, yes. Handyman scams, these happen after natural disasters. After the derecho went through town, we had a lot of these scumbags show up. They'll show up knocking on doors, wanting to help clean up your yard. And they'll do a little bit of work and ask for an advance to go buy materials or whatever, buy supplies. And then they will go cash the check and flee town. So it becomes a civil suit then if they've actually done part of the work. So trying to find these people after the fact is very, very hard. A good word to the wise, don't pay for anything until the work is complete and to your satisfaction. So haven't had derecho come through for a few years, so we should be good.
Technically, there was one last year, but it was a small
Oh, a small
one. It
derecho.
was a small derecho.
So pay for the work once complete. Online dating scams, this is another very, very, very scary area. We had one of our customers in the Des Moines market. His wife passed away, and a few months after she passed away, the gentleman went on an online dating site, met up with somebody, and dated. He said he met her in person. He never did meet her in person. She then asked for a little bit of money, and he sent a wire transfer to a business customer in Georgia in the United States. Right, not Georgia, the country, but he did that to help her out, sent her this money. And then a couple days later, he needed to send her some more money. And I got involved at that point. The teller who took the information said, this just doesn't feel right. So I got involved at that time, and I called the person. I said, have you ever met this person in person? And he said, no, it's all been online. He fessed up at that time. I said, I'm positive you are being catfished, and this person probably doesn't exist. Oh, but she sent me pictures of her military ID and her passport. I said, well, you can Google that and you can find pictures of passports all online. You can be anybody who you want to be online. So he was fortunately only out $8,000 and not completely wiped out of his whole life savings, but just a couple of months after his wife passed away. So lonely. We had one of our trust customers fall for somebody. They were dating online for at least a couple months, and she sent him $45,000 to help him. And then when all this came to light, she said, I have lost faith in humanity, which is very sad. I mean, you're just lonely, wanting company, and this happens. So online dating.
These are exceptionally dark because they take advantage of love, realistically. As is a common theme, AI is only making this worse. Unfortunately, you don't even need a person anymore because AI-generated video and voices can do most of the work. And if you aren't really sure of what you're looking for to look at an AI-generated video, it can look real these days.
So no, we've gone over our time, but as long as you don't mind hearing some more stories, we'll continue. So gift cards, like I showed you, this pile of $18,500 gift cards. Gift cards are for gifts, not for payment. So if somebody's requesting a gift card for a payment, take a step back and say, why? Why? I still can't believe that Best Buy will sell $2,000 worth of gift cards to an individual and no questions asked.
And they shouldn't, is the problem. When I was at Come and Go, one thing we trained extensively on was gift card fraud, gift card scams. If you come in asking for an undue amount of gift cards, it should raise red flags for the cashier. And they should be asking you the same questions almost that a bank teller would be asking you.
I did hear a story about a gentleman who went to Target and he was instructed to buy $20,000 worth of Target gift cards. And he was coached to say the reason for buying these was he was having a party and handing out gift cards. I've never been invited to a party where they hand out $20,000 in Target gift cards. But that was what he was coached to tell the Target employee to make her follow along with it. So.
And she still should not have processed that payment at all.
Yeah. So gift cards are for gifts, not for payments. Crypto.
All right. Like Amy said, if you can't tell me what the blockchain is and how it works, just avoid it. It is a complex piece of technology that does a lot of things in a really cool way, but it is also the best vehicle for scams and illegal payments. Drug cartels and terror cells utilize cryptocurrency because they are that untraceable. If anyone is asking you to buy and send things in cryptocurrency, just don't. It is way too easy to never see that money again. And these companies that take these crypto scams, they're really good at coaching you through buying it and sending it too. I have seen ransomware that infected normal people's computers, that there was a help desk you could call and they would coach you through accessing Bitcoin and sending it to them to get your computer unlocked.
Right. We have some examples of some fraudulent texts. You know, it's easy to say, well, if you get one of these texts, don't answer it. These are actually ones that I have had sent to my own phone. So here's one that said, you want to earn $535 tonight? Well, sure, that sounds pretty good. You must have your own computer or smartphone. Click on this link. No, thank you.
Don't click on the links ever. Just don't.
Ever. And a lot of these will have a little note below it saying, we acknowledge that this looks like junk. Do you want to block the sender? And yes, always block the sender.
Yeah, Google and Apple have gotten really good at noticing when things don't look right. And if it doesn't just dump it into a spam folder, like I know a lot of Androids will do nowadays, there's usually some sort of flag there that says, hey, this probably isn't legitimate.
Yeah. I accidentally blocked my daughter though once, so I would advise to be very careful. Don't block.
She was just really annoyed that day and was just...
It's like, why is she not answering me? Ooh, I blocked her. Here's another one. I got this, it was a random text, and this is how there's a new scam called pig butchering. This is how it starts. May I know who this is? And my response was, nope. This number was in my workbook, but there was no name, so I asked if we knew each other. I'm Annie Johnson. Nice try. Oh, I'm sorry, it's my notepad my assistant carries around. So you could just tell by how it's worded that, yeah, definitely not in this country. And they're trying to get a hook, hey, well, maybe we could be friends. And I blocked her at this point and said, nope, I have enough friends. I don't need Annie Johnson.
So pig butchering scams have been kind of renamed to be romance baiting, but the reason that they were originally called pig butchering is because the scammers will literally essentially fatten you up. These scams are long term. They take a while to execute on. But how it works is basically you get a random text message that says like, hey Kyle, or it'll actually, the name will be wrong. It'll be, hey John, we have pickleball this weekend. You're like, I'm not John. Oh, I'm sorry, you seem like a wrong number, my bad. You seem like a nice person. Like, what's your name? I'm Kyle. Well, hey Kyle, I'm Steve, whatever. And basically, the concept is you build a relationship with this person. It takes time, but eventually they'll say something along the lines of, hey, I've been investing in this new platform. It's really cool, and I've seen some great returns. I'd love to get you onboarded into it. Now, this is where things get really malicious, because most of the time, the red flag is going to be when the scammer says, well, send me money and I'll get you invested. Pig butchering scams don't do that. They say, you can sign up on this app. Here's the link for this application. It takes you to an app that is actually in the Google or Apple Store market. You download it, you create an account. You're doing all of this yourself. It seems perfectly legitimate. You can upload money to it, you can move around, you can see the money in that app on that account. It seems perfectly fine until your scammer friend on the text message vanishes. And then you go into that app and try to withdraw and it doesn't let you. And then the app vanishes. That money is gone. They'll convert it to crypto, Tumblr it out of the country, and it's gone. You gave it away. It was essentially it was just like anything else, but you did it, which is why so many people have fallen for this particular scam, because it feels like you still have all the control.
There was a bank in Kansas that, last year?
2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago?
It was right when this was new.
The CEO of the bank sent over, I think it was $52 million of bank money to one of these scams. Took shareholder money. The bank ultimately failed and the FDIC had to step in, but this bank president, CEO, fell for this pig butchering scam, thought he was making so much money, took funds from his kids' college fund, church funds, I mean, just crazy, just to make some money, and turned out he was being fattened up.
Yep.
So, can happen to anybody. If it sounds too good to be true, it is.
So this one came to me, actually. I got this just a few days ago. This is one, actually, very similarly, that my grandparents got their identity stolen on a scam very similar to this. This is a toll fee, basically. But another one very common in Iowa is the speeding cameras. You'll get a text message say, hey, you got caught speeding on Highway 20 in the speed camera. It's $115. You can click here to pay. We make it super easy. Here's a link, click, enter your card information, you're good to go. They will steal that credit card number and use it for any number of things. That's exactly what happened to my grandparents. They logged in, they thought it was legitimate. They had traveled, they had gone through Webster City just last week, so that makes perfect sense. They logged in, they put in their credit card information, they thought, okay, speeding fee is paid, we're good to go. And then they started seeing some weird charges on their cards and had to cancel all of them.
This was an email I believe I received. Review and sign, click here. PayPal transaction for $547. If you did not do this, call this number. Well, that's the phone number of the bad guys. So if I didn't make this transaction, no, I didn't. I'm going to call them and dispute it. What we recommend instead is actually log into your own PayPal account, not through anything you received through email or text. Log in to your PayPal account and verify the transactions.
Could you go back one, actually, please? So something you'll notice between this text message as well as the PayPal email, I have never known, I've been a Maryland Easy Pass holder since I lived in Washington, D.C. I've never known them to use a lot of emojis in their official communications. Same with PayPal, if you look at the next slide. They got some phone emojis, some diamonds, that's fun, doesn't quite seem legitimate.
This one had a heart flag.
Yeah, it's got a heart flag and some handshakes. We are trustworthy, you can trust us. Probably not.
Probably a 15-year-old boy putting together that text. So yes, don't click on the links, don't call the phone numbers. Here's another toll one that I got. And I do have an Illinois toll pass that I use maybe once every 5 years, but.
Yep.
There's that same one,
Oh,
twice
yeah.
in that thing.
Twice, whoops.
Okay, so text, phone calls, emails, don't click on links.
So I want to highlight a really crazy phone call that I heard of. This was anecdotal from a friend of a friend kind of thing. But phone spoofing, like I said, is really, really simple. So you'll get calls from your kids, your friends, your family, whatever. I had one that I had heard of one. This is from a reputable source. I trust him. He got a call from his deceased father, his deceased father's number. When you see your dad pop up on your phone and he's dead, I don't know if I would answer that. I don't know how I would function there. But this guy did answer. And he said, hello? And it was like, basically something along the lines of, no, this was my father's number. How did you get mine? And it was like, well, it was on the SIM card or whatever. And not being a technical person, you think, okay, that's possible, I guess. And then he started talking. Basically, he used the fact that he had his father's number to integrate into this person's life and basically pig butchered them. He got them to download an app and send money to it. These people are absolutely shameless and will do anything. Like I said, I've said this a couple times and I apologize, but they will push any button. They will manipulate any emotion you might have to get what they want.
There's a movie out there, The Beekeeper. I enjoyed it. It's about these bad guys, and what we'd like to see happen to them. So if you're bored on a Friday night, The Beekeeper, it's on Netflix.
It's really intense.
It is intense, there's some violence, but
A lot of violence.
yeah, a lot of violence, sorry. But if you want to see like how the scam happens, that's a good movie to watch.
Hollywood style,
Yeah,
yes.
Hollywood, blowing up things and stuff. But fake checks, I'll just go over a little bit. We talked about this a lot. How to identify fake checks just goes back to knowing where you got it from, you know. And I sent around a bunch of examples. Here's some more. These are a little bit older, but just the information printed on them. Even dollar amounts are key. This one, somebody used a very, very bad typewriter for it. I know I show these to the new staff members here, and they're like, what's a typewriter? Yeah, this is that one example of a cashier's check from First National Bank. There was just so many little things wrong with it, plus our cashier's checks are not green, so that was another one, but I don't know, that signature, maybe Don Sampson or something. We don't have a Don that works here, so. Here's another one. The memo line gives them away a lot of times. I'll see deposit or approved payment or authorized payment, usually even dollar amounts. I used to say they were under $5,000. They're getting bigger. I know the statute of fraud, you get charged with Class C for under a certain amount, Class D, I don't know those, but they're getting more and more brave. Here's one that has an embossed signature line. They paid extra for the embosser. Here's one that has an embossed dollar amount line. We do have one of these machines that we used to emboss our own cashier's check. I like to call it the ka-chunk machine because that's the noise it makes, ka-chunk, when you do it. We don't use that anymore, so it's purely for fun. There's my Snowy Mountain check stock. It's just the cheapest check stock out there. You know, fraudulent checks are still being made, still being counterfeited all the time. And I always get the question, how did they get my check? You know, how did they get all the information printed on this check? Those blue boxes that you put your mail in, the bad guys go and take the mail out of those blue boxes. Post office workers are being killed for their keys that open those boxes. I listened to a webinar put on by the post office, and they talked about these blue boxes. I mean, just scary. Anytime you put your red flag up on your mail at home, it's just a sign for the bad guys to go, oh, look, they have some mail. And what do you mail these days? You mail like birthday cards and bills. So you write a check, pay your bill, they have the information on your check. So yeah, at the bank, all of our mail goes out through a carrier. They come and pick it up. We don't put it in a blue box, but hand delivering it to the post office. Yes.
I believe First National still provides bill pay.
Yeah, oh yes, online bill pay is definitely, I know it's scary to do things online, but that's where most of your protection is you can see your transactions in real time. You can react to them and you don't have to wait for your statement to get mailed. So yes, and the cost of a stamp these days, holy moly, it's nuts. So yes, anyway, the bad guys take like a brick, put some duct tape around the brick, put it into the mailbox, pull it back out and see what they fished for. Yeah, there is a push through the postal system to replace all the blue boxes with new blue boxes. It's kind of like those rumble strips you drive over, but if you back up, it'll pop your tires. Same concept. You can put something down it, but if you try and pull it out, it won't let it come back out. So, but budget cuts and
If the post office.
yeah, is the post office still around anymore? So how do the bad guys find their victims?
So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but these are some of the ways. A few of these are a little bit more old school because right now data is cheap and data is free almost to a degree. If you know what you're doing on the dark net, it's not hard to find people's information. All of those data breaches you hear about, most of the time those eventually get dumped onto the dark web. And you can buy a bundle of X number of social security numbers for pennies on the dollar, essentially.
I know it sounds fun to like search the dark web, but I don't advise it.
Don't do that.
We have professionals that, I've actually sat down with some law enforcement and they've showed us what it looks like. Scary stuff, but
It is real easy to make everything much worse.
yeah. So basically, social media is huge. What you put out there in social media land, be very careful. I have not put anything out there for my grandson. He's almost 2. People that know that I have a grandchild are the ones that need to know. Those that don't know, they don't need to know. So I have another family member, she puts everything on there. I don't have to go visit them because I already know what they've done for the last months on end and every event that they've gone to, and there's pictures to prove it. So I'd be very careful. Be very careful what you put out there. Obituaries, scary. These bad guys prey on obituaries. They look up information and then they go and search social media and then they find phone numbers and then they can call you and they know you're vulnerable because you just lost a loved one and they use that against you. So
In cybersecurity, it's called OSINT, Open Source Intelligence Gathering. The capability to find information about you just on the open net. And there is infinitely more than you think there is.
phone books, I thought we took that out of there. They don't make phone books anymore.
I think technically you can still buy a phone book, actually. Just like the encyclopedia, you can still buy an encyclopedia.
I have a set if you want. Victim prevention. So we've scared you enough today. Go tell all your friends. Show them this presentation. You can make copies of it if you want extra copies. I'm sure we can find some more. Tell all your friends about it. They should be equally as scared because you have a phone, you have a computer. Everybody can be a victim. So if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Just because we gave you access to funds on a check you deposited doesn't mean it's guaranteed that it's awesome and good and you should sell your motorcycle. Be very careful, very careful. Never cash checks for people you don't know. I know that seems silly, but we had somebody approached in our parking lot. Hey, I don't have an account here, but could you cash this check for me? And they did it, and the check came back as bogus. So just don't do it.
All right, and let's talk about some really quick ways to protect yourself. I've probably scared you a little bit today. I'm scared generally on the internet. I've tried to help my siblings and my family protect their kids themselves. There's a couple really, really easy things you can do though. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is the #1 thing you can do online to protect yourself. It is super simple to do, generally. Almost every major provider of a service, so be it Facebook, be it Gmail, anything like that offers multi-factor. So what that is when you log in, when you type in your username and password, you'll get a little prompt on your phone to punch in a number. You get an application that provides you a 6-digit number, you have to punch that in. That means that even if an attacker gets access to your username and password, they won't be able to get into your account without having that code. There are hundreds, thousands of YouTube videos showing how to set up multi-factor authentication for all of your systems. First National Bank already requires it on your online banking. That comes from a text message. That is better than nothing. I'm not going to get into the efficacy of second factors. Any multi-factor authentication is better than none. 100% bar none. If a system offers it, you should turn it on. The next one, little bit harder, I know, but strong passwords. Generally, passwords are cracked by throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. They'll put in a username and send a script that can basically try up to millions of passwords per second. A longer password makes it much harder or sometimes functionally impossible for that to work. 16 characters should be the minimum you're shooting for. That generally puts it into upwards of 50 to 60 years to hack if they're running just regular permutations. I've always been told people like hearing this. My Gmail password is 97 characters long. Now, I'm a paranoid psycho, so it's fine, and this is what I do for a living. But 16 character minimums, I really recommend a passphrase. So word associations are how I really like to do my passphrases. So think about an event in your life. The one that I always utilize is August Ribeye Green 04. Now, to most people, that is a completely random assortment of words. If you were to try to hack it, it would take, I think it was 54 quintillion years. But to me, that tells the story of how I met my wife. So August Ribeye Green 04. We met at my mother's wedding on August 4th. My wife was wearing a green dress for the wedding, and they served ribeye. Now, to most people, completely random. To me, if I forget it, I'm in a lot of trouble. So simple word associations like that are a great way to build long, strong passwords for yourself. So we've already talked a little bit about the cell phone privacy features. If you don't have them turned on, go into your call settings. If they're not in your contacts list, dump them to voicemail. I promise if the bank is calling you with something important, which we won't do unless it's a tragic importance,
I do sometimes call.
we'll leave a voicemail and you can call us back. And then a password manager. Now this one is a little bit more technically complicated, but it is great. Password manager is essentially a virtual vault that you utilize to store all of your passwords. It can also generate pseudo-random passwords. That Gmail password that I talked about, 97 characters long, I don't know what it is. If I got kidnapped and someone wanted to get into my Gmail, I could not get them into it without having access to my password manager tool. Now, granted, my password manager password is 55 characters long, so I don't know how much. But I also utilize multi-factor authentication to keep that safe. There are a lot of password manager tools out there. Google them, a few that I just recommend off the top of my head. The one that I use personally is called Bitwarden. There is a free version of it and a paid version. There are, again, hundreds, if not thousands of YouTube videos that you can utilize to learn how to use it. Once you are in something like that, you'll wonder how you lived without it.
The online surveys that you see on Facebook, fill out this survey to see what your sign is, or
See what character on Friends you are, or
Yeah.
whatever those are, yep.
and it asks you a bunch of questions like what was the name of your first pet, the first street you lived on. All those are ways.
Security questions,
Yeah,
I think.
security questions. So you don't need to know what character on Friends you are or what animal you most resemble.
It's completely random anyways, I promise. You punch in the same answers again, you'll get a different response.
Yeah. What zodiac?
Nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, don't fill out this online.
Yeah, those are common social engineering tools.
Yes. Internet banking, like I said, you can sign up for internet banking just to keep an eye on your account. Mobile banking alerts, you can set up alerts to text you if a transaction is over a certain dollar amount. I have a text set up that anytime my daughter's account falls below a dollar amount, I want to be notified. Tell all your friends. Like I said, this is not a secret. Tell everybody about these examples that are happening in Ames, Iowa. It's nice that we hear about things happening in Miami or Chicago, but this is here in Iowa. These are happening. You can also sign up for credit monitoring. We offer the service. There's lots of places out there that offer the service. Get a copy of your credit once a year just to verify that nobody has opened credit cards in your name. Another thing I didn't put in here, open your mail. That's how I found out that there were 2 accounts opened in Florida in my name. If I would have just looked at that and thrown it in the garbage, I would never have known. But opening the junk mail and seeing what's in there, thank you for applying for this credit card. What? I didn't apply for a credit card. So opening your junk mail.
I apologize, we went wildly over our time schedule, but I hope you all found
Can you
it.
have another cookie
Yes.
on the way out? But if you have any questions, my contact information is in there. Give me a holler. If you have something that this looks a little weird, any bank employee can help with that. We'd much rather look at it ahead of time than have to deal with the ramifications of sending money that we can't get back.
It's much easier to stop than it is to fix.
Yes. So, super.
Thank you.
First off, thank you so much for coming. I hope you aren't completely terrified and can't sleep tonight on all the things we've shared. But just yesterday, I had two calls from customers. One had the toll road text, and she goes, I started down the path, but before I had to put a lot of my information in, I thought maybe I should put that in. And so she called and I'm like, that's good. But we did go and put some alerts on her. She did a lot of the online banking things because she never put her information in, but it panicked her enough to do that. And she kind of realized, she goes, I really hadn't been in Illinois. And I thought, wonder why my toll road was on there. And then someone had got something in the mail that said their account had been, someone had gotten into their account. And so I said, if you have no intention of using your credit, freeze it all. And she's like, I don't plan on buying anything. And so we went through the whole process of freezing it, and that was kind of a data breach thing she was concerned about. But they're everywhere and we get calls all the time. So I encourage anyone and everyone, and we go to Green Hills and North Crest and Northridge Village, I'll say, bring me your phone and show it to me before you click on something, or an email before you click on something. And I'd say, tell all your friends to do all that too, because we would rather prevent agonizing hours and days of work than you just come in. I mean, we have people come in when they're on their phone, it's muted, and said, I think this is a bad guy on my phone. You can do that. Okay, we will help confirm that. So they just talked about bad surveys. I'm going to talk about a paper survey. So in your folder, we do have a paper survey in there. We would love your feedback on anything on there. We ask for, new topics, and we host these seminars throughout the year. And a lot of it comes from feedback that you guys are asking for. So please fill that out if you can. If you have questions, please feel free to ask or reach out to one of us. Not here today, but she's another part of our team here. So thank you again for joining.
So they were over my 10 minutes.